The bus driver stopped the bus as a car came out of nowhere. "What are you doing?" he shouted to the driver as the passengers on the bus were all injured and hurt. "Does anyone need medical assistance?" the driver then asked. "Yes," several passengers said. As I was still laying on the floor as my head was ringing, the old lady said, "Hey, can I call the medics?" she said, showing off her new phone. "I guess?" the driver said as she then began to struggle to dial it. "Hurry up," I said as all of a sudden I saw blood coming down from the stairs of the upper deck of the bus. "Hey, there is blood upstairs," I said to the driver as he then grabbed some tissues from his pocket and rushed upstairs. Then unexpectedly, there was a loud scream as his body then came falling down the stairs. "Don't come up," someone shouted as they then did a manic laugh. I was shocked and confused as they came downstairs slowly and laughed once more. "Anyone get off this bus and this thing explodes," he said holding his push button. Everyone was shocked. "No please," I said as the old lady was shocked and scared. "I have a family." "I don't care," the villain said as he grabbed her. "Hey, let her go," I said as I got up in a rage and rushed towards him. All of a sudden, the button was pushed as the bus began to go up in flames. I dashed out the door as I grabbed the old lady and the villain and we all jumped off the bus. We all landed on the floor as I was up against something sharp. I then reached into his pocket and found a knife. "What is this?" I said to him as I was trying to shield from the explosion. "Hey, give me back my knife," the villain said as his mask then fell off. "You," I said as I was shocked. "What are you doing here?" "You know this guy?" the old lady said. "Yes," I replied. "We spent some time in prison together," I said. "I thought you died, dude." "Not a chance," Billy said. "But why are you here? Why did you blow up the bus?" I asked him. "Because you didn't complete your tasks for me," he explained. "But I thought you died." "First rule of anything is never suspect that I died." I rolled my eyes. "Am I in trouble?" I asked him as the police began to come to the scene. Billy then grabbed me and the old lady as we dashed far away from the scene. "Where are we going?" the old lady said as she was upset. "I need to go home," she suddenly said. "Not a chance, you are with me now," Billy said as he continued to laugh. "Please Billy, take me and let the old lady go," I said as I looked at her. The police were beginning to surround the area. "You don't even know her name, do you?" Billy said to me. "Look, that isn't important," I said as we went down a small pathway. A car then began to pull up. "What's going on?" I said as the old lady and I were shoved into the back of the car. The old lady screamed. "Please stop, my heart can't take all of this," she said as we were cramped into the car. "Sorry about this," I said to the old lady. "Don't be sorry," she said to me. "This thing used to happen to me all the time," she said. I looked confused. "What do you mean?" I asked her. "I used to be in the Secret Service," she admitted as she reached into her pocket and pulled out her badge. I was shocked. "Why didn't you say anything?" "Because I had my memory wiped," she confessed as Billy got into the front of the car and put the car into drive. "So are you pretending you don't know how to use a mobile phone?" I asked her. "Yes," she replied as Billy turned around and said. "Shut up. Shut up," he continued over and over as he then drove away from the burning bus. "What are you going to do to us now, that you ain't going to do in the future?" I asked him as I began to get angry with him. Okay, just keep it down, okay?" he said as he had a change of heart. The old lady showed me her badge. "Oh, your name is Doris?" I said as I was reading it. "My grandmother's name was also named Doris." I said as I looked her in the eyes. She winked as Billy was driving like a maniac. Where are we going? I asked Billy. You will find out soon, he said as he closed the shutter between the front and the back of the car. I continued to ask Doris some questions about the time in the Secret Service. Oh wow, I said as she was spilling a lot of secrets. How can you remember all of this, but not how to use a phone? I asked her. I don't know, she said as all of a sudden Billy stopped the car dead in the tracks. What's going on? I said as suddenly the doors opened. Get out, he demanded as he pointed his knife at me. Okay, I said as I didn't want to get hurt. I do whatever you want, Billy, but please, just stop the threats. I can't take it anymore. Billy looked at me as he then moved the knife closer to my neck. Don't think I won't do it, he said to me. Do it then, I said as I began to get depressed with everything that was happening. All of a sudden, there was a loud whack sound as Doris hit Billy over the head with a brick. There, she said as she smiled at me. You are free as a bird, she continued as Billy was laying on the floor. But why did you do that? I asked Doris. Because you deserve better, she said as all of a sudden Billy grabbed Doris' foot. She went tumbling down to the ground. Doris, I screamed as I stepped on Billy's hand trying to stop him from attacking her, but he wouldn't stop. Stop, I said as I picked up the brick and continued to smash it into his head. I hate you, I said with a passion as he wouldn't stop. Die, beast, I said as I finally put the brick right through his skull. His eye popped out of the socket as there was so much blood. Doris grabbed me and pulled me back. I understand that you are upset, but this is just unacceptable, Doris said as I looked at my hands as they were covered in blood. Did I really do this? I asked myself as I saw Billy's damaged face lying there on the ground. No, this isn't me, I said as I turned around and hugged Doris. I'm sorry, I said to her. It's not me, you have to say sorry too, she said as she got back into the car. Let's get out of here, she said as she tried to start the engine of the car. Okay, I said as I got in the back seat waiting for Doris to start up the car. Doris then put her foot on the gas as it sped off, leaving Billy to lie on the pavement, bleeding. Did we really just do that? I asked Doris. Look, I know it was hard, but it had to be done, she said as she then put on her shades. She was speeding down the highway as I was holding on to the back of the seat. Can you slow down? I asked her as she took a sharp corner. All of a sudden, we came to a screeching halt. Here we are, Doris announced as we stopped outside of a library. What are we doing here? I asked her. You know, she said as she tapped her nose. No, I don't, that's why I'm asking, I said as Doris turned around. Why don't we go in and find out? She said as she kept winking at me. I don't know what you are winking at, I said as I was really confused. Get out and I will show, she continued as I got out the back of the car and began to walk into the library. We entered through the front door. Oh Doris, you are back, and who is your friend? The person behind the desk said. Oh, this is George, Doris said as I just kept silent and followed Doris around. We walked to the back of the library. The lady then pulled one of the books down as it opened a secret doorway. Wow, I said as I was shocked. Doris then went in first. What are you waiting for? She said as I was just in shock at everything that was happening. Where are we going? I asked Doris. You find out, she said as she then opened the door to a secret headquarters. What is this place? I asked as I stood there in confusion, watching everyone in motion. This is the Secret Service place I was telling you about, Doris replied as she introduced me to her daughter. This is my daughter, Jasmine, Doris said. Nice to meet you, Jasmine said. So what am I doing here? I asked her. Well, I think you would make a good member of the Secret Service, Doris said as Jasmine nodded her head. But, I said in confusion, I don't want to go on secret missions, doing stuff for the government. Everyone says that the first time, Jasmine said as she was writing stuff down. I looked at Jasmine, then I looked back at Doris. Okay, I'll give it a go, I said in confidence as Jasmine handed me a security badge. Use this to get around the headquarters, she said. I'm sure my daughter will keep you in good hands, Doris said as she sat down and had a cup of coffee. So what do we do around here? I asked Jasmine. Well, let me show you, she said as we walked down some stairs as she then opened up a door with her secret pass. The door slowly opened as I began to get nervous. Well, we keep the first job nice and simple, Jasmine said. Oh, I'm not into paper copy and writing stuff down, I said. It's not that, she replied as I then looked up and saw the team cracking on with their task looking over the computers. Hey Jazz, a man said as he came over and patted Jazz on the butt. Hey baby, Jasmine replied to him as she kissed him on the lips. Suddenly I felt something inside with me. This is Patty, Jasmine said as they were holding hands. Nice to meet you, I said as I shook his hand. All of a sudden I was getting sweaty. This new guy is here to work with us, Jasmine said as Patty nodded his head. Oh, that's great, we could use a set of extra hands, Patty continued to say. What do I need to do, Chief? I asked Patty. Well, could you do some art for us? He said. Oh, okay, I'm very good at Microsoft Paint, I replied. Patty looked at me in confusion. Oh, don't you do anything else? Patty asked me as we both sat down as Jasmine was walking away. I'm not really tech savvy, I said as Patty opened up the computer and opened up Photoshop and began to show me how to use the computer. So how did you and Jasmine meet? I suddenly asked as he was showing me through the program. Oh, we met here, Patty said. She is very pretty, and I wish the best for you too, I said to Patty. Thank you, man, Patty replied as I was getting nervous around him. I think I might have a crush on Jasmine, I said to myself under my breath. Patty continued to show me how to work the program for the next 10 minutes. Oh wow, I said. How much do I get paid? I suddenly asked. Well, that depends on your performance, Patty replied. Oh, I said as I then got up and looked at Patty. If I don't get paid, then I'm not doing it, I said. Don't act like a child, Patty replied as he was sipping on his coffee. I'm not acting like a child, I said as the rest of the company turned around and looked at us fighting. Patty then took a big breath. Look, I don't have time for children, he said as he turned away and marched back to his desk. I'm just asking how much I get paid, I said. Simple question, I continued as Patty was ignoring me. Look, isn't working for the Secret Service enough? He said as he smirked. I was so confused. No? I replied. I have to feed myself, I continued. You can get all the food you want here, he said as he suddenly showed me some sort of food pass. I rushed over and looked at it. I didn't know about this. It's just one of the many perks you get here, Patty added. Oh, okay, I replied. I'm sorry, I continued as I grabbed his card and rushed into the lunch hall as I hadn't eaten in a long time. I rushed into the hall and all of a sudden I bumped into Jasmine. Oh, you, I said as she was brushing off the crumbs from her dress as she was eating some sausage rolls. She turned around with a face full of sausage. Hello, George, she said. What are you doing here? She said as she was surprised. I'm just getting some lunch, I said. But who let you in here? She asked. Your husband, I explained as I showed her the card. Oh, he knows he shouldn't be giving that out to everyone, Jasmine said as I just stood there in awe at her. You have very nice eyes, I said to her. Oh, thank you, she said as she suddenly blushed. Do you want to get a coffee with me? I suddenly asked, making myself look like an ass. I'm sorry, A, I'm married and B, I'm busy, Jasmine said as I felt like a right idiot. What do you see in that idiot? I asked her. She was confused. Patty? She replied. Yes. I replied to her. He is so kind and handsome. I laughed as she blurted out rubbish. Just spending half an hour with him was horrible. Why? Jasmine asked. Something just felt off with him, I said to Jasmine as all of a sudden I grabbed her hand. What are you doing? She said to me. I feel you are making a mistake, I said to her as she was shocked. Excuse me, you know me for 10 minutes, you don't know my life story, Jasmine said as she tried to get her hand out of my hand. Let go, she said as she suddenly did a surprise takedown on me. I fell to the floor as she was standing over me like a titan. Are you going to let go now? She asked. Not a chance, I said as I was smiling, holding on to her hand. I bet you like it. Like what? Jasmine said as all the other staff were watching. I'm in love with Patty, I always have and I always will, she said as she let go of my hand. You are lying, I said cheekily. She then slapped me. Don't you ever talk to me like that again, she said as she got angry. She then stepped on my neck as I began to struggle to breathe. I pushed her off. My office, she said. Which is where? I asked her. She pointed at her office as I got up and slowly walked towards it. I'm sorry. I don't want to hear it, Jasmine replied as I opened the door to her office. Doris was just sitting there. What are you doing here? I asked her. Well, not only is Jasmine my daughter, I also run this place, she said. I was shocked. Why didn't you tell me anything about this? I asked her. Because it's a secret? Doris snapped back as she stood up and walked over to me. I sat down on the chair located next to the desk as I couldn't believe what was going on. This has got to be a wind-up, I said to myself as Jasmine walked in. What do you think you are playing at? She said loudly as she was clearly angry at me. I'm sorry, I said to her. I wasn't thinking straight, I continued. Well, I don't care, Jasmine replied as Doris then said. Give him a second chance. I can't, mother, he has already caused so much chaos today and we have lost $2 million. We are not in it for the money. Doris continued to fight for me as Jasmine then pulled out her red book. Look how much this place has lost in the last 3 months, Jasmine said. We are not in it for the money, we are here to save the world, Doris said as she slammed on the desk. How is anyone saving the world by creating stupid logos? I said as I stood up and looked at the red book. You are only losing money because of the amount of expenses you had. We need these, Jasmine said as I pointed it out. That logo stuff is only training until we get you onto the search team, Doris said. Look, we need that ice hockey table, Jasmine replied as both ladies were getting into my head. Please, just one at a time, I said as I was cracking under the pressure. Suddenly I snapped. Shut up, I shouted as both Doris and Jasmine looked at me. I dashed towards Jasmine and slammed her head into the book. You are just a minx and you should be ashamed of yourself, I said as I kept slamming her head over and over on the book. Doris dashed around the table as she then grabbed me. Stop that. Don't tell me what to do, I said to her as I pushed her up against the wall. You are just an old slut, who is a phony. Doris then did a top-secret martial art move as she ducked and got out of me holding her against the wall. Not a chance, she said as she pulled out her radio and called for assistance. We need help in Jasmine's office. She radio called as I was dealing with the rage that consumed my body. Put that radio down, I demanded as I looked at Jasmine as she laid there as loads and loads of blood dripped out of her head. I jumped at Doris as she dodged out of the way again. George, you are messing with a black belt in karate. Don't you think I know that? I said as I jumped on her as she swung me around. I was thrown against the wall as several officers then rushed in and assisted Doris. They all jumped on me. Shut up, one of them said as they placed handcuffs on me. I haven't done anything wrong, I tried to say as they placed tape over my mouth. They stood me up. I tried to speak, but the tape was getting all over my mouth. I tried kicking the men, who were very strong looking. This will be the last time you try a stunt like this, Doris said. She ripped the tape off my mouth as it felt a lot like waxing. Ow, I let out as I then spat at her. You think you are so tough, but no one is tougher than me, I said as Doris laughed. So you are finally showing your true colors? She continued, I knew you were trouble ever since we met. She added as the men then placed more tape over my mouth. Send him to the cells, Doris said as men were attending to Jasmine as she was still bleeding out all over the place. I was then escorted out of the office as Doris was trying to tend to her daughter. Is she going to be okay? She asked the medics. We are doing everything we can, they said to Doris as she grabbed Jasmine's hand. Everything is going to be okay, darling, she said to her. I was being escorted down the hallway and to the prison cells. You guys are making a huge mistake, I said as I bit off the tape from across my mouth. The big strong heavy man then placed the tape across my mouth again. Just shut up, the guard repeated as we were walking through the long maze of hallways. After what felt like 10 minutes of torture, one of the guards opened up the cell door as the other ripped off the tape from mouth. Okay, you idiot, you are going to be spending the rest of your time here, the guard said as he kicked me in. I haven't done anything wrong, I said, trying to bend the bars. Here's your food, one of the other guards said as they threw a hamburger at me. I'm vegan, I suddenly said, trying to confuse them. I don't care, the guards said together as they closed the cell door and locked it up. I began to look around the cell, trying to find a way out. I shouldn't be in here, I said as I sat down on the bed. All of a sudden, I felt the bed collapse underneath me. Ow, I said as I got up and lifted up the bed. I picked up the planks of wood that had been broken into half and pulled them all out, leaving the mattress to slide down into the hole between the two walls. I then sat on the mattress as I was playing around with the piece of wood I had broken. I wonder if I can use these for something, I said as I looked at the window high above on the wall. I wonder if I can build a ladder, I muttered under my breath as I didn't want the guards hearing me. Excuse me, I suddenly asked the guard that was standing watching the cells. How is Jasmine doing? The guard was shocked. Like you care, he said. I do, I replied. If you cared, you wouldn't have hit her, the guard said. It was a moment of madness, I repeated as the guards looked at me. I don't care, the guard said as he then pulled down the shutters. Go to sleep, he said as he then turned around and didn't watch me anymore. I then began creating a ladder with the pieces of wood. I then slowly climbed the ladder as I didn't want to break it and make a noise and wake the guards. I reached the window on the wobbly ladder I had created.